This is an ever-present fixture. This poor old thing. There was actually nothing wrong with it this time. It was just a slight little adjustment on this rod, because if you don't have the auto drive disengaged, there's a safety under there that doesn't allow you to pull start. So that's all that was wrong with it. I just readjusted that rod. It had a little bend in it, this lower part, so I straightened that out. But we're in good shape as far as that one goes. And sitting out here, you can see we've got Mama Sue's Grasshopper 618 with the SL52 deck. Going to be doing a rather large servicing on it. Tires should be arriving today. These are just about gone. So we've got new tires coming. She got herself stuck. Got to clean the engine off really good, do an oil change, service everything else. And it took me 3 days to get the books on it because she kept forgetting. But we've got the books, so we can actually do everything by the book. But first, since we've got a little bit of time before we can actually get to the Grasshopper, we're going to put this back plate on. We're also going to straighten out this oil pan. So let's get the back plate on first, and after we get the Honda Bond on, we'll let it sit for 1 minute, set it in place, get her bolted down, make sure I get all the bolts in the right place. Well, no, I really actually need to straighten the pan out first, because these gussets here have to be in place to secure, you guys can't even see it, but to secure the back plate on there. So we're going to straighten the pan out first. Let me get set up for that. Alright gang, we're going to level this out. First thing we're going to do is knock down each of the holes. And I wanted to comment, I used a flap disc on these, and all I took off was the paint. I had somebody comment that they never used a grinder. Oh, I never used a grinder either. So we're in the, we're in the same ballpark. I don't know what else to say other than I didn't use a grinder. I used a flap wheel disc, a very fine flap wheel disc, just to knock the edges down to tell me which ones. You can see this one here got tightened too tight, this one here got tight. The ones on the bottom got tightened too tight, and then there's one up here where the bolt broke off right here that was tightened too tight. So they all need to be knocked down. So I'm just going to show you real quick the process. I have my flat surface right here. So after I get those knocked down, I have, I don't know if you can hear that. That tells me that I'm not level, okay? That I've got bent tabs. So if you look here, if I run this feeler gauge, let me move it closer to the edge here. But this feeler gauge will go a certain distance and then stop. Well, that corner's up. We got to straighten that corner out. It may be just the bolt holes being drawn down. That's going to fix that. So let me get the doors closed since I got a neighbor mowing, and get set up over by the vise. We're going to use the anvil of the vise and a block of wood under, because I have a lip here. So we're going to use a block of wood under it and tap those suckers down back up this way so that they're more level the way they're supposed to be. So stay tuned. Alright, I decided to go a different route here. All I did was just drilled some shallows here, larger than the hole diameter. And the reason that I did that, see how close I can get without causing any issues. The reason I did that is just so that I can line up and get those holes, if anything else, sitting a little proud to the outside, which I am fine with. But my problem now is I don't think my wood's tall enough. We'll see. If it's not, we'll go to the end grain. I should have checked that first, huh? Can we get it? That doesn't quite fit, does it? Well, there's a fail. Don't go away. Well, now we should be in better shape. Duh. And you can see, this is my drill block. Anytime I'm drilling through sheet metal, I always use a drill block, and I'm running out of room on that sucker, aren't I? About time for a new piece of good hard oak or ash. Alright. Get that good and tight in there. Get it lined up. It'll be a little bit cumbersome. And I'm using a brass punch, okay? Brass punch. Brass punch and a BFH. I need to figure out a way to hold everything so that it stays still. Maybe I'm making it too difficult on myself. You guys want to see up a little higher? Hang on. There we go. Whoops. Get back over there. Pay attention to what you're doing. Alright. And we'll check these for flatness after we're done here. Oh, that moved pretty easy. Okay, good. I'm glad it moved easy. I can tell just by looking that it moved. You can, the light shining off of it just kind of changes from being convex to concave. Oh, sweet. Easy peasy. Alright, so you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish that up, and then we'll get back over here on the level surface, see how we are. Alright, there's two ways I can check for level. One is a nice, good, solid, flat surface that's long enough to run the span. And I'll show you guys that I can get a feeler gauge in there. Let me see here. Let me pull. Let's pull a 15 thousandths maybe. If I can get it out of there. There we go. The 15 thousandths are 0.381 millimeters. So we're going to try that, and I know it'll go under. Okay, so let's see if I can give you guys a little better perspective here. I'm going to hold this right down in the center, and then you can see that 15 thousandths will go in there. It's not going in as far on this side, but these two corners need to come up. Come around to the other side and check here. Now we look good and level here. Yep, good and level here. We'll come down here and go this way, show you. Got just a little bit of a bend there. So a bend here, a bend here, and a bend over here. As far as level across this plane, we're good. My bolt holes are not impeding my results because my bolt holes are sitting proud this way, going up. So when I cinch this down, I won't torque it to spec in the beginning. Then I'll let the Honda bond fully cure and then tighten her on down. You only need a really thin layer of Honda bond for it to work right. So how are we going to straighten these corners out? Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. One, I can stick it in the vise, put that corner up in the vise and pry, which we will try right now on this one corner. Wait a minute, the tripod's giving me a fit. There we go. Okay, get over here again. Right there on the vise. Okay, so wherever my white dots are, I need to straighten the corner. So I'm going to grab the flange on both sides. The flange meaning this lip right here on both sides in the vise. I'm going to leave that hole sticking up just a little bit. I'm just going to pull back a little, see what we get, okay? Yeah, it doesn't take much at all. And I can feel it bending. So I'm just going to continue to get to this corner. Again, leaving the hole near that a little bit proud. That one went real easy. We'll check here. And I'll lather, rinse, repeat that. This seems to be a pretty easy method here. Now let's check our level. And I'm going to have to lather, rinse, repeat that a time or two before I get it perfectly level. And perfectly level, is that absolutely necessary when you've got gaskets? No, not necessarily, but it's important enough. So now we're just going to use this flat surface. We'll set it down so that the whole thing's on a flat surface, and I have the tiniest little rock, but that may be because I overbent. You can't see that. Maybe because I overbent on this corner and this corner back here. Yeah, I did bend both of those corners, but we're going to see, using the feeler gauge, 15 thousandths again, 0.381 millimeters, whether it goes under. So we're not going under, we're not going under, not going under. We're going to go all the way around it. Still not going under, still not going under. You guys can't see that, so I'll spin it around for you so you can see. 15 thousandths is not going under. And I go the whole length, all the way around it. I just completed going all the way around. I'm happy with a 15 thousandths tolerance. You know, you're talking, that's not very much. If I turned that 15 thousandths sideways, I could get it to a point where you could just about not see it at all. So I'm happy enough with that, because this does take a gasket on that surface. So there you have it. That takes care of straightening out the oil pan. We took care of these holes using a brass drift, and since the gentleman that commented said all he does is uses a ball peen hammer, I felt the need to use a ball peen hammer to do it, but I don't want to ding up this steel, so that's why I opted to use a brass drift. There's 1,000 ways to the end result. Everyone does things differently, so that's just how I did it. Didn't even have to break out the body hammer. Okay, now we're gonna head over to the Cub Cadet, get the Honda bond down on the backing plate, get the backing plate in place, get the Honda bond on here, get the gasket in place on here, and then Honda bond a little bit on top of that gasket, and then we'll set that in place with those support bolsters, those long heavy steel pieces, and I'll clean those real quick off camera. So I'll see you guys over there on the Cub Cadet. Now before I can start assembling, I pulled these bolts out of this pan. Can you see all the globs of silicone all over those bolts? So I get to stand here at the wire wheel for a while and get all those cleaned up. Oh, this job's gonna be the death of me. That was off of Ugly Alice. I was tilling and it popped off. I have to glue it back on. All surfaces have got to be really, really clean. So I've got mineral spirits, and I've got nice, fresh, clean towels that we're going to wipe everything down with. I already took care of wiping down the screws, or the bolts rather, and I don't care if I see another tube of bathroom caulk again. It's just amazing. Now we've got 3 different length bolts that go in 3 different places. Obviously we have the bolsters here, which take the long screws, and we should have 6 of those. And there's the last one. Alright, so we've got all 6 of those. And then the remaining perimeter of the oil pan will get the next length. Okay, so these right here are 1.25 inches. Got a glare. 1.25 inches, okay? That's these. And then we have these that are slightly shorter, and they are 1 inch. And like I say, those go around the top and bottom of the pan where the bolsters are not. And then we have the short guys. And I went out and purchased new ones. They just happen to be zinc coated instead of black oxide. But there we've got 3/4 inch. So getting all the bolts in the right holes is going to help too. It's going to keep me from stripping the aluminum. Right. So now that we know the bolt lengths and we've got everything here, we've got everything ready and everything is cleaned up, I'm going to pull all this off. We're going to get the Honda bonded. I'm just going to do the Honda bond off camera and show you on the backing plate after I've got it laid down on there. It needs to be just thin, just a thin coat, not much at all. We've already got the transaxle itself all cleaned up where all the mating surfaces are going to be, and we've got the rear gasket in good shape, and we're going to Honda bond it as well. And I suppose I can tilt you guys up just a little bit more. In fact, let me just move you over here. I can get you closer. You might be in my way, so I may have to move you again. But we've got all of our surfaces cleaned up and we're ready to go. The last thing that I will do will be to take my clean towels and my mineral spirits and wipe the surface of this plate down. Then I'll dry it quickly with air. Then we'll lay the Honda bond down and I'll show you at that point. So hang on. Well, I owe you guys an apology. I got hugely interrupted, and in that interruption was mainly just talking, and I was able to keep working, and I did just that. I just kept working. So I'm starting off at 25 pounds, or excuse me, 25 inch-pounds, okay, on torquing, and I'm doing the typical star pattern here, and I'm going to go through and do 25 inch-pounds, let it sit for about half an hour, and then go to the 40 inch-pounds that I believe, if my research is correct, is the final torque. Not until the volts break. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go through, get all these torqued down, and I'll come back in a half an hour when I have retorqued these down to 40 pounds. Then we'll fill this thing with oil, put the wheels and tires back on, put the brake levers back on, and see if we have any more leaks. That's our main goal. Seal that sucker up. Alright, see you guys in just a little bit. Alright, we're going to fast forward a bit because as you can see, it's all back together. It's not been bathed yet, but that is to come. All I have to do is take 4 torque screws out to get to the hydro. Pull the seat off, get to the hydro. And I took it out and I ran it around for a good solid 20 minutes. And the only residual hydraulic oil that we have is where I didn't get it all wiped off the back from where I was filling it. Everything's acting the way that it should. We have no leaks. We're bone dry under here. Hopefully there's enough light. You can see that's leftover silicone on the back side that I just left there for posterity, I guess. But we have no leaks. So next up, I'm just going to tighten a few things up that have worked themselves loose over the years, like the power steering cylinder and a couple of other things, and then we'll grab the deck. Got a couple things to straighten out on that big massive deck. After I get those things straightened out and scrape off just what little grass is under it, we'll get it mounted under here. It is a shaft drive, so we'll get that mounted to the coupler, and we'll see how everything else is, whether it's going to be a happy little Cub Cadet or an angry little Cub Cadet. Let's hope for a happy one, huh? We agree? Good. I'm glad we agree. But successful repair. I know there was some there was a time lapse that kind of happened there. Whenever here's the problem. Whenever my truck's out here, everybody knows, oh hey, Zippo's here. So it happens. One other thing I have to do is to see if I can't get the debris shield back on, because it was not on there very good before, and that's why that wire's hanging out. That's the oil pressure switch wire, and it routes right over top of that. Well, without that on there, all you have is drive shaft. So I just unplugged it and moved it out of the way. That's just a low oil warning. And also I fiddled with the fuel gauge a little bit, but I do not know if it was if I was successful, because I took the bulb out of the low fuel, so we'll throw that back on. Then it's time to give it a bath after we get the deck on it and do a little bit of mowing with it, get things tightened up here and there. Be time to give it a bath and finally load her up and get it out to Miss Zippo's, which will require removing the deck again, so that I only have to make 1 trip out there. Otherwise I have to make 2, actually 3, because my big trailer that this would fit on with that deck would be out there, so that I could load the Legacy back up and bring it home. But we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. I'll bring you guys along just a little bit after I get things tightened up and make sure that everything else is copacetic, and see if I can't get that shield on. Hopefully I can. So that's it. Friendly Neighborhood Zippo for now. This should be the last part, unless I run into some kind of a roadblock with the deck or something like that. So I know it took a long time in coming. This is a relatively long ending part to it, and it's missing a little bit here and there, but it's done. It's on the ground. It's on its own 4 skins. It moves forward, it moves backward, it does what it's supposed to do. So unless the deck throws me a curveball, I will catch you guys on the next one. I might even turn the camera on and show you what it looks like all cleaned up, because obviously it's got a good bit of filth going on. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Later. I'm out of here.